friends, we are here for our series overview of September, and we're going to be starting a new series called Beyond Belief, where this month we're going to be talking about questions and doubts. So let's get into what we're talking about this month. In week 1, we're going to be learning how God can still use us. When I think about it, there are days where I focus on my shortcomings, lack of experience, and maybe the different ways that I've messed up in the past. And I tend to worry if these things will prevent me from doing the things that matter most. And if I'm being really honest with you guys, I believe that's because of my self-doubt. Maybe I start to fear that God isn't going to use me. And we sometimes see similar things in the leaders of the book of Exodus. God's people were enslaved and suffering under oppression of the Egyptian Pharaoh. So God called a man, you may know him as Moses, to lead them to be free out of slavery. And Moses really doubted himself, but God assured Moses that even amidst all the insecurities and the past mistakes that he may have, God would still be with him every single step of the way. And God doesn't require perfect resumes or unwavering certainty. Our doubts and our failures and the things that hurt us don't disqualify us from being used by God. Because regardless of whatever self-perceived flaws that you and I may both have, God still loves us and he wants to use us to do amazing things. So whenever you doubt yourself, know that God can still use you. In week 2, we're going to talk about how it's okay to ask questions. Sometimes when we look at the stories and the characters in the Bible, they can seem beyond belief. And I find myself doubting what I'm told about God. I begin to wonder if it's okay to ask questions about what I'm told to believe or what God is doing in my life and in the world. And if you're a little bit like me, we are in good company right now. Because after all, God called Moses a leader, but Moses had a sketchy past and was insecure about his abilities. And this made him wonder if God still wanted to use him to lead his people out of slavery. And when Moses doubted God, he did something that you and I can do as well. He asked God questions and God responded. While God didn't provide detailed answers, God did promise that he would never leave him. God welcomes and expects your questions and doubts. So the next time that you guys have any questions or a hard time believing what God has told you, just remember that when you doubt, it's okay to ask questions. In week 3, we're going to talk about how God still offers guidance. Frequently, I have these moments where I feel lost. I doubt God's direction in my life, and sometimes his presence feels depleted. And in moments like that, I tend to resonate a lot with the story of Exodus, where God was on a mission to rescue his people of Israel from enslavement in Egypt, and just to follow through on the promise to make a blessing to the entire world. And God got them out of Egypt, but trouble still persisted. And some wondered if God even had a plan at all to begin with. The fear of being chased down by the Egyptians were always present, and eventually Pharaoh's army did catch up with them, trapping them up against the Red Sea. And the Israelites definitely felt abandoned and lost in that moment, and they cried out to God. But God gave them a way out by making an escape route through this vast body of water. Such a cool story. But this story shows you that God is always with you, even in the moments where you feel lost or you're questioning where God is leading you. All you need to remember is when you have doubts, God still offers guidance. And in week 4, we will learn how God still cares for us. There have been moments where I have felt betrayed by people who have played a massive role in my life. And when that happens, I do something that I think a lot of us may be shy to admit that we do as well. But I project that frustration onto God and assume that God's gonna do the same. And I question whether God will come through or just flake like the other people have in my life. And there's this moment where God's people have doubts and complaints after being freed from slavery in the book of Exodus. And they were wandering in the desert. And they became really hungry and upset with Moses and Aaron for not providing them with their necessities. They wondered if God really cared for them and if they should have just stayed in Egypt while they were slaves. And however, God responded to their complaints compassionately and provided them with manna, a bread that satisfied all their hunger. And we all doubt God's faithfulness during difficult times, if we want to admit it. And we often forget the moments that he has been so faithful to us in the past. And just like with the people of Israel, God hears and cares for you. Even when you doubt, God still cares for you. And that is all for our September overview. I hope that you guys could join us in person at 10 a.m. on Sundays as we go throughout the series in the month of September. See you soon.